All
It's
right.
official. All right.
It's actually working. Yay.
Sweet.
Okay. Welcome, Andriana Mendez of Senior Move Source. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. I'm very happy to be chatting with you and actually recording this time. So, Andriana's going to talk to us about sandwich generation today. So, tell us what it is. I just recently heard about it and I'm kind of fascinated by it because I'm also in the sandwich generation. So,
Yeah.
um,
So it's kind of the phase that everybody is living at some point in their life, but nobody's talking about, which is crazy because I feel like, through every phase in life, especially if you have children, the sandwich generation really puts you in that place where you are raising children. You're an adult child, but then you also have aging parents. So you're like right smack in the middle of kind of being pulled in both directions, kind of from a caretaking standpoint, in addition to, of course, everything that we're dealing on personally, growing our families and building our careers and things like that. And so it's a really unique phase in life. That's filled with a lot of ups and downs. I think it's kind of a roller coaster. There's a lot of ups, but then there can be a lot of downs as well. And I think it's really important that we start talking about it more because, again, I feel like there's just not enough people talking about it, at least that I know of. And there's a lot of support I think that's needed for this phase in life.
yeah, I literally had just read about it maybe a few weeks before you and I chatted, before we did this podcast. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this? Yes, this is me.
It's so many of us. It's crazy. And it's
So
spanned over a large portion of our lives. And so, yeah, I think it's great that we're talking about this. So I appreciate you having me on.
yeah, so it's literally people who have kids and are also taking care of their aging parents. And so you started Senior Move Source as kind of a resource. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm also co-owner of a moving business that specializes in helping adult children to transition their parents to assisted living. So we do all the packing and moving, and kind of through that business, we encountered so many families that were kind of in that crisis mode or very overwhelmed mode of dealing with all the parts that go along with that. Not just the move, but all the emotional things, the financial toll of it. And so through the networking that I've been doing over the last, 7 or 8 years, I've met so many local professionals here in the East Bay area who provide services in one way or another that kind of support that transition, not just for the seniors themselves, but for the family. And I just really thought it was a time and a place to create a business around providing resources for people who are in that transition or have a loved one or family member going through that transition. um, just because there's so much that can be found online. You can go down the rabbit hole of Googling, home care, assisted living, what's the difference between assisted living, independent living, and memory care and skilled nursing. And there's just a lot of terminology that unless you're at that particular phase in life and dealing with that with a specific family member, it's not common knowledge. I mean, especially like I don't work in the medical field. I never have. To me, it was all brand new.
Mhm.
And it's something that touches a lot of our lives, and it's just having to learn this whole new almost terminology and culture surrounding this kind of um, care scenario for our loved ones is really really overwhelming. And so that's kind of where I developed that, because I just want to be that resource that you can call, tell me your story, what is it you need, what are you going through, and how can we best support you and your loved one. So it's kind of all about not just helping the person that needs the care. Sometimes, a lot of times, like us, the adult children, we are the caretaker. And so you really have to care for yourself before you can begin to care for someone else.
Yes, and that is the difficult part is trying to
Mm-hmm.
balance all of that and take care of your kids at the same time.
Yes. It's crazy. It's crazy. And, we really can't do it all. And I don't think we can do it all well, which is why it's so important to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Instagram page is really to bring awareness of it and try to build a community that is struggling and needs help, right?
Yeah, so I've started to build that up kind of again, just awareness, talking about it, bringing to light more of, I think just people hearing, once they hear your stories, there's so many people that can resonate and that just having someone to talk to or at least know that you know is going through something similar is really powerful in itself. And then I'll continue to build out that page. I have a ton of videos going up on there that will have a little bit of tidbit information about, again, all of that, those terminologies and those things that you might encounter as you have an aging parent.
Oh man, I can't even begin to start. So you have I mean, you kind of had a personal why to it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it was 3 years ago now, almost to the date, actually. I had my family just took a complete upside down when my mom had a very sudden and unexpected fall in her backyard. I think it was post COVID. I think she had slowed down a little bit, lost a little bit of her strength, and she tripped on a stair in her backyard, and it sent her to the hospital in the worst way possible. I thought she was going to be paralyzed. It was crazy. Like we went from one day, literally me and my daughter were packing the car because we were all going to go on a little family trip together. I'd taken a few days off of work. To then literally the next day she was in emergency surgery and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And it was just so flooring. Even it's interesting because even being in that industry, hearing the phone calls all the time that we get from our clients and kind of people in that industry, I kind of was like, okay, when it happened to me, it was just like, whoa, it blew my world out of proportion. Like I couldn't be a mom, I couldn't be a wife, like I literally couldn't even be me because everything went into my worry about, was she going to be okay? How was I going to care for her? How was I going to take care of her home and everything that suddenly she wasn't able to take care of because she stayed in the hospital for almost 6 weeks and
Mhm.
then went home pretty much in my full care. And so when we got home, I was like, okay, I'll stay there for a while. At the time, I lived just down the street. And, I'll help care for her. I'll take some time off of work or I'll do more Zoom calls or I'll take more phone calls and just stop doing less in person stuff. And I really thought it was going to be okay. I thought I was going to be okay. And I thought I would, was going to be able to swing it. But it was just so much. And I really lost myself in those weeks, like to a certain point to where, my husband would drop my daughter off to come visit and, he would visit, he'd bring us over food and things like that. But it was just, I became such a shell because it was just so much emotion involved. And I was pouring everything into her because I really wanted her to get better and I hated seeing her struggle. I think being that close to her made it really hard for me. And so at some point it was just, I couldn't do it anymore. Just reached a point where I became a complete and utter zombie. I wasn't sleeping because I was getting up multiple times a night with her, making sure she didn't fall again, which was my biggest fear. And I really was just like, at one point my husband was talking to me and he's like, hello, are you there? And I'm like, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not here.
You're like, not really, huh?
No, I'm here, but I'm not. And I kind of came to a point where I was like, you know what? My family deserves better than this. Both my mom and my daughter and my husband, everybody deserves better than this. And, we had to, connect with the people that I already knew. Luckily, thankfully, I knew who to call. I think it was just a lot of, initially, it was the pride and thinking that, oh, I do it myself. Like, I want to take care of my mom. But then it was just really, to be brave and finally just say, we need help. And in order to best care for my mom, I have to take care of myself. And so that's kind of where it was like, having gone through that, I just know how dense and thick it can get when, you're trying to maintain your job, you're trying to help, continue to pay for things and care for your kid and taking them to school. And it's just a lot. And I can imagine what other people are going through and have that on their shoulders as well. And I really just want to be of support to that and just, if anything, provide the resources so that when you're ready to finally ask for help, they're there and we're here for you.
Yeah. And really, I think the more you talk about it, the more you make the shame go away, right? So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
more things are talked about just in public, I think it's takes away that aspect of like, oh, I don't have to be embarrassed to ask for help, or yes, this is hard, and yes, I do need support. So I think it's awesome. On the resources, what do you plan on kind of focusing on? Are you doing like financial? Are you doing like long-term care support, or kind of everything?
Yeah, so my resources span in all different directions. Everything from, connecting with people that could provide in-home care or connecting people with how to financially plan for, what might be best to support your loved one financially based on what their means are. To doing things around their home so they can stay at home longer and safer, installing grab bars and ramps, even things like on the legal aspect, like have they put together their estate plan, is there advanced care directive on paper, what are their final wishes, things like that that you don't really think about until arrive at that place where you kind of see their health declining and you're like, wow, this is a reality of, you really don't know from one day to the next. Of course, we don't want to plan for the worst, but at the same time, you have to, because otherwise, when you're caught off guard, you can't make those decisions or you can't make good decisions when you're off guard to the point where it's just all you're deciding is based on emotion. You have to do it a little ahead of time so that you can prepare and make those logical decisions, so that you can provide the best support that you can for your loved one. So
Absolutely.
it's really a huge spectrum. Of course, we're going to be dealing, I think, mostly with resources for kind of the crisis calls of, moms getting discharged from skilled nursing. Like, what do I do? Who do I bring in? But then hopefully as time goes, people kind of start talking about this more and start understanding like, hey, these are the things that need to be in line ahead of time before all that crisis happens. Hopefully not, but just getting it ready.
That's awesome. I love it. And okay, you have an Instagram. Do you also have a website?
Yes, so the website is seniormovesource.com, and the Instagram and Facebook is both at seniormovesource.com, or just Senior Move Source.
Senior Move Source. Yeah, at
Yes.
Senior Move Source. And we'll
Yeah.
tag it in the show notes too.
Wonderful.
Well, that's awesome. And you've lived in our community now for a long time, yes?
Yes, so I grew up in the area my whole life pretty much. And yeah, I went to school in San Ramon, graduated high school in San Ramon. My daughter goes to school in Danville now. So we're still very local and I love the community. It's a great place to be. I think we're really lucky in that we have a lot of, professional support in the area that supports us as adult children as well as our aging parents. Not every community can say that, and I think that we're really lucky to have that. So I love to continue to be here and support the folks that are here.
Well, we love what you're doing. I'm very excited to see you grow because I know there's a lot of people in our age bracket that
Yeah,
are definitely going through the sandwich generation. So we appreciate you. And if you have any questions or anybody, you can reach out to Andriana at Senior Move Source, and we'll make sure we plug her info in our show notes and on Instagram. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Okay,
All right.
hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can
Oh,
get it
the
to
little
stop.
red dot.